Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Welt Olabialadito, and I'll be taking you on the project management session today. So today we'll be looking at a full life cycle of an IT project through while using the waterfall traditional project management style. So we'll be looking at how to represent, manage, and carry out a full project from initiation all the way to closure using the waterfall. And then next week, we'll look at the agile side of it. So a typical example of a project, that's what we'll be looking at today. Let me share my screen now. I hope you can see my screen, please. Can everyone see my screen? Can you see my screen, please?
Yes, we can see your full screen.
Yes,
Okay,
we can see your desktop.
thank you very much. Okay, so let's go. We have quite a number of slides today, so I will try and be fast. But you have the slides later, so you can just go over it again and again and again, and you'll have a clearer understanding. So quickly, just like I said, we're looking at CRM. There are different types of projects that you can do. But since we are within the IT domain, I just want you to get a picture of an IT project that you can do with the waterfall style, and then also an IT project that you can also do using the agile project management style. So you can see the difference because actually this came out in an interview a while ago, and then give an example of a project using the using the waterfall, and then also give an example of a project using the agile. All both of them from the IT project management side of things. So it'll be a good one for you guys to just have an understanding. Okay, so quickly, the waterfall project phase on a CRM uh, project. There are different projects. It could be an enterprise resource planning ERP project. So it depends, whatever it is. But today I will just decide to use CRM, which is Customer Relationship Management System. Okay, CRM, Customer Relationship Management. Most of the companies they use it now, banks and telecoms and all that. They have such system. So we're looking at a project, assuming you've been given that project and you are asked to manage it, what will you do? What sort of documentation will be required? Okay, this is waterfall. So waterfall requires quite a number of documentation. We will see this, and then I try to capture some screenshots of some of the one-page documents that you will require. But for those that are more than one page, they are just written there, so you can always browse a sample for yourself. Okay, so now for introduction to our project, the project name is the CRM. So what the company intends to achieve is to develop a new CRM system. And then what is the project goal? The goal is to streamline customers' interaction, improve sales tracking, and then enhance customer service efficiency. You see those three stuff. Those are what they really want to achieve. Those are the goals. Why the company said, oh, we need a new CRM system because they want to be able to streamline customer interactions, number one. And then they want to improve sales tracking so they can track the sales, last month's sales, how many, what was the percentage of this particular product compared to this particular product. They could track it using the CRM. And then also enhance customer service efficiency. How fast are we able to meet customers' needs? And how fast are we able to even attend to customers? And how many customers are we able to attend to per hour, per day, per week? All these you can manage with a CRM system. And then what is the business need that actually brought about this CRM? The reason why we are even doing this at all is because the current manual processes are inefficient, leading to data inconsistency and missed sales opportunities. So you see, that's the problem that the company has. And then they now said, okay, I think what we need to do is to get a new CRM system in place. And then you are the project manager. You've been given this task to carry this out. So you see how you now put your documentation, and then your first introduction page, you are saying, oh, this is the project name. This is the project goal. These are the business need. And then what is the scope? You now look at what the scope is, what the project includes and what it doesn't include. All those you will put down within your scope statement. Okay, so the phase one, which is your project initiation. You need to understand the objective. Formally start the project. You need to define the purpose, the objective. You need to secure initial authorization. Remember your project initiation document. That's where you secure your authorization, because within that initiation document, the stakeholders, top management, they will understand the business ask why we are doing this. Why do we really need to do this? Which I have already stated that because it's a manual process that we're using before and it's kind of slow. They can't capture much data with that. They've decided to go for a new CRM system. All this must be captured within your initiation document. And then your requirements gathering and analysis. This time around, it has to be on a high level, a high level feasibility and project definition. Now that means you are not bringing all the details. It has to be just high level, as in highly summarized. That's what the high level means there. Then what are the activities for this initiation phase? You need to identify your stakeholders. Now remember, all these things I'm mentioning, you will have specific documentation for them. You will identify your project stakeholders, document their names, their positions, what sort of power they have. And then you will have a meeting with your team to even understand who those stakeholders are, where they are. And then you now define your project goals and the objectives. Conduct feasibility studies. Preliminary risk assessment will be done. Then you now develop your business case. That's another document. Develop your business case before you start talking of your project charter. So it's through your project charter that your authorization will come, because once management looks at it, it contains all that they need. They will see the objective there. They will see, the project goal, the scope, everything will be there within that project charter, and then the team, and then the project manager's name also there. Once they look at that, then they'll know. So, okay, we want to authorize it or not. Now, for the project charter, last week, I did discuss that your project charter, what it contains, what is the purpose. We say it's a formal document that authorizes the existence of a project. Okay, it authorizes the existence of a project and provides the project manager with the authority to apply organizational resources to project activities. Once you have that authorization, the project manager can now use the organization's resources respectfully. So the key components of this document is it will have a title, description, the purpose and justification for that project. And then you have measurable project objectives and success criteria. They will all be there. High-level requirements, the risk, milestones that you intend to achieve. Okay? So all these will be within your project charter. Now, the project title states New Customer Relationship Management System Implementation. That's what we intend to do. And the purpose is to enhance customer interaction efficiency, sales tracking through a centralized CRM platform. So what's our objective? The objective is to reduce customer service response time by 20% within 6 months of launch. because it takes so long to respond to our customers. We want to reduce that. We don't want a customer to come on board and we are talking with that customer within for 1 full hour. Because if you're dealing with customers within 1 full hour, so how many customers will you be able to reach out to in a day? But if you put up a system whereby customers need information have been tracked and then you can discuss with one customer within 3 minutes max, that means you'll be able to talk to a whole lot of customers within the course of business day. And then also to have a conversion rate by 10% within 12 months. When you're pursuing leads and opportunities, how many of those leads and opportunities are you able to convert to real customers? So those are the things that we intend to increase on. And all those information will be contained within your project charter. Now, this is an example of a project charter with project goals. You can see the goal description here. You describe what the goal is. Another goal, different goals. Just put them A, B, C, D here. Put them here. Then what is your scope? What should be in the, within your project? What should be there? What shouldn't be there? All this will be stated. And then the team, what sort of team are you using? You would list them here. What timeline are you working with? Is it 6 months, 3 months? Within first 3 months, want to achieve this. Then the milestone 2, within the second 3 months again. Within the second, so if it is 6 months, 3 months, 3 weeks, you'll put all those within your timeline zone. And then this is not the only template that you have for project charter. There are different templates, okay? This is just an example to show you what it looks like and what it contains. Now, phase 1 has a requirement gathering and then an analysis overview. Within this phase 1, you will thoroughly understand all the documents and the functional and non-functional requirements of the system. Remember, we're dealing with a CRM system, and we know what the CRM system can do. So you need to look at the time. What time will it take to get this part of the documentation ready? The key activities involved here, your stakeholders interview. You will create a workshop where you can interview these stakeholders. Those stakeholders are both internal and external. You want to discuss with them because they are very important. Some of your big boss, management team, they are part of the stakeholders. People you'll be dealing with outside the scope of your company, they are your vendors, they are all part of your stakeholders. So all this, you need to document them properly. Then you will now review the existing systems that you want to replace. What sort of documentation is there? Then your current CRM that you're trying to build, the user story mapping, how it goes from A to Z. All this needs to be understood. And then your user case definition. All these are terms that you need to underline to understand them. They are very simple. It's just for you to hear them. When you hear them, just go and Google them and see what an example it is. You can say for a CRM, give an example of user case definition for a CRM. User story mapping for a CRM. That's how you search things out. And then you'll be surprised. Once you see it, it adds to your experience. Feasibility studies. And then requirement prioritization. Because as those requirements they come, not every one of them will be dealt with at once. When you have a list of requirements, assuming you have 7, which one comes first? Which one comes second? So in order of priority, you need to class those requirements. That's part of your responsibility as a project manager. And then, still on requirement gathering, what are the deliverables? Now, Waterfall has so many documents, okay? You just need to understand them, but they are very interesting. All these documents are detailed and it helps to bring clarity to whatever you're doing. Key deliverables. The software requirement specification is a document, SRS. All the different specifications that are within that software, they will all be contained within that document. Detailed functional requirement. What would this system do? This system we are trying to build, what will it do? So there will be detailed analysis. It will detail all the different functions there. You can see that this system will do this. This system will be able to track customers' idle time. This system will be able to track how many customers we're able to deal with in a day. This system will be able to track how fast we're able to deal with this system. All those information will be there. Then non-functional requirements, like the performance, how long it takes to load, how long it takes to get on board, the security, the usability, what sort of vulnerability is there. Then the user interface, mockups, the wireframe. Once you see the page, how does it look like? Is it user-friendly? Is it beautiful? And then the user case diagrams. Those are visual representation of the user interaction, how the user uses that platform. Visual representation needs to be created first for you to see it, even before you design it. Then data flow diagram, DFDs. So you can see how many documentation you need to be aware of just within this page. Your SRS, your functional requirement, user case diagram, data flow diagrams, okay? Then the project scope document also, which is a formal agreement on what is in and out of scope. So within this project, this is in scope, but this is out of scope. That means we're not going to deal with this. This project is not going to get to this point. So you already have that stated already, because you know what you're doing and you don't want to go out of your boundaries. So it's like creating a boundary for your project. So anything out of the boundary, you don't want to go there, is out of scope. That's what you're trying to do. Okay, so this is phase 2, planning. Within the planning, you've already established the project scope, refined the objectives, and then you now define the course of action that is required to attain the objectives. Because now you are planning it. Since you've known what the objectives and the goals are, you know the scope of what the project is. So now, how do we get there? We are planning how to get this done. How do we attain that objective? Okay, so within your requirement gathering, you will look at your system design. How is the system designed? How are we navigating from what level to what point? Okay, we want to start from this phase. We want to start from the initial engagement within the CRM system. How do you engage with it? How do you upload it? Once you've uploaded it, what is the next? Do you need a password to get on there? So all these are details within your design. The key activities we'll be looking at is you develop the project management plan. That is part of your duty. You have a project management plan, PMP. You need to look at all the different subsidiary plans, integrate them together with your plan, because everything works together. Then you will define the scope. Look at the time, how long it's going to take for each phase. And then what sort of budget are we looking at? What's it going to cost us? Because as you're looking at timeline, you're looking at cost. A project of 1 week, the cost will be different from a project of 1 month. So you need to consider all this. Then you will identify and plan for resources. Who will be needed? How many people will be needed? What sort of materials will be needed? What sort of equipment will be needed? Okay? So all these you need to make plans for and put them in your PMP. What are the risks? You need to identify the risk, analyze those risks, and then have a response plan. That if this happens, this is what we're going to do. And then your communication plan also, and procurement planning. Now, we've dealt with most of this during our last session. So let's just move on. This is an example of your risk management plan. Now you can see for a CRM project now. So if you're having a presentation with your stakeholders, say top management now, you just showing them this will give them an idea. You can see part of the risk that you're looking at is scope creep. What is the likelihood of scope creep happening? You say 4, and the likelihood is from 1 to 5. That means 4. That means it's very, very likely to happen. And if it happens, what will be the impact on this project? Impact from 1 to 5 is 4 also. So what is the risk level? Is it low? Is it high? For you to know that, you need to multiply these two together. Likelihood and impact. That will give you the risk level, which is also called severity. And here we say 16. Okay, what is your mitigation plan? Okay, so for scope creep, now they say regularly conduct scope reviews with stakeholders. That's part of it. Then there are other things that you need to write also. So you see how your risk management plan is being detailed, just 1 page. Then look at integration challenges, which will come up. How likely is this to happen? Say 3. What will be the impact? 5. 3 times 5, 15. You see? So that's how you know the severity of that particular risk. And then you look at every other thing: data security breach, resource constraints, stakeholders resistance, software compatibility. All these are risks. So just table it so you have a good risk management plan for your project. Any sort of project is through discussion. You discuss with the team. What do you see as risk? Some people, they've done this project before, so they could bring in some of the risk that they witnessed then. And then you feature it. So, okay, let's discuss it. So this actually happened. Oh, how was it resolved? Okay, and then we start looking at things that could happen. Oh, this could happen, that could happen. And then what do you plan? It's like having a meeting if you go to Zimbabwe. Say, oh, we're going to have a meeting, and you never consider power supply. That's a risk for that meeting. So you need to locate it. It's okay, fine. Now that we know that power failure, it's something that is how likely is that to happen? Then you now check, oh, every day they only have like 4 hours. Oh, so that means it's highly likely to happen. So likelihood is 5. And what will be the impact? The impact is very, very high. 5 also. Why? Because if you don't have light, you can't have your presentation. You can't even have the meeting at all. So you see that the severity is very high. So what will be the mitigation? Get a standby generator, get a solar system in place, backup. Okay. So those are mitigation plans. Oh, Charlie, your hands are up.
Yes, I wanted to ask some of the risk management plans I've seen, but I don't know if it's or is it the log? Is it in the log that you assign an owner?
Yes, the risk log, of course, yes.
Okay, but not on this plan.
No, this one is just a plan showing what could go wrong, how severe it is, and then what's your mitigation. That's all.
Okay.
For the complete risk management log or the risk register, you would assign that to someone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's move on quickly because we have quite a number of stuff to deal with. Now, we're looking at the project scope statement, which I did mention during our last session. And then, so this just details what the scope statement contains. Okay, product scope description, acceptance criteria, the project exclusion, constraint and assumptions, except for the CRM project now. Just for this our project now that we want to deal with, which is the CRM project. We say the project objective is to implement a cloud-based CRM system to manage leads, opportunities, customer accounts, and support tickets. Okay, that's the objective. Then what is the scope? User management, lead management, sales pipeline, customer account profile, case management, reporting dashboard. All those are part of the scope, what would need to be designed. Then what is the exclusion? Integration with legacy ERP system to be handled in phase 2. That means this is phase 1. That other one will be handled in the next phase when we develop the next level. Then we also look at acceptance criteria is that 95% of core functionalities must be tested and approved by UAT system. Scope statement documentation for project management. Now, this is an example of the scope statement. Now, all scope statements mustn't look like this, but this is just a sample for you to see. Okay. You can see that there's a description, the scope description. In scope, the CRM system to attend project-related calls, handle clients' queries, training to project team. Then out of scope, to support employees other than project team, that's out of scope. So this is showing you what is in scope and what is out of scope. And then you have your project deliverables, acceptance criteria, constraints, assumptions. So all this you can see within your scope statement. Now the Gantt chart. So the purpose of this Gantt chart, I did mention that also during our last meeting, is a bar chart that illustrates a project schedule. So it shows the start and finish dates of the terminal elements and summary elements of a project. When are you starting this project? The date will be displayed there on your Gantt chart. When do you intend to wrap it up, finish, complete? It will be shown on your Gantt chart. So you can see the task, the activities, the start dates, end date, duration, dependencies, and what progress. You can monitor the progress. You will see there on your Gantt chart. Now, this is an example of a CRM project, the Gantt chart. See, establish the objective. We try to get that done during week 1. Then examine the data, week 2. Analyze customer base, examine competition. All those are done within week 2. Then formulate a tactic positioning and messaging, week 3. So you see, so whatever you want to do here, you can tell the timeline, how long it's going to take, start date, end date. You can tell. So your Gantt chart should be able to show that. Let's move on. Now, system design. We'll start going into the design of the system now. Remember this phase now for design, we are talking about execution. We've dealt with initiation, planning. We are moving into the execution phase now. So the objective is to translate the requirement into a detailed system architecture and design specifications. You will put a duration to this. You need to estimate the duration. People that will carry out the task, you will have a meeting with them. Oh, please, developers, how long will it take you to do this? Okay, so once they see that, they will now say, oh, this kind of work can take us 6 weeks, can take us 8 weeks. They say, fine. That will now inform your input into the Gantt chart or whatever it is that you want to use to display to show the timeline. And then the architectural design, it's a high-level system structure. It might just be 2-3 pages that will show how the first page will be, how the second page will be, the customer page will be, everything will be shown there. Then the user interface and the user experience design, UI, UX. How will it look? How will the first page, the landing page look like? How will the CRM major page look like? How will the dashboard look like? All these are part of what the UI will deal with. Then the module design and the interface specifications. Technology stack selection. What sort of technology are we looking at? What about system softwares do you want to impute into these things? All those information the project manager will get. And then your security design. There are different security architecture that can be used. Which one are you considering for this project? So you need to be specific. You don't leave anything to guesswork. No, we want to see everything and it must be documented. That's project management for you. So still on the system design, the test plan, the technical specification for individual modules, the API specifications, the security design document. You would discuss with the security team what sort of security architecture they intend to use. You will document everything. So no one come back tomorrow and say, no, that's not what we planned. Everything needs to be documented. And then the prototypes and the wireframe that your guys want to use, the UI UX design team, what they intend to use, all that will be there. Your BAs will help you to design the wireframes, so you can just see it on the page. So, high-level architecture diagrams, and then system design document. So your design engineers, the design team, They are the ones that will be responsible for all this. Then your UI, UX designers also will help you out with the wireframe. Some BAs can also do that. They are good with it. So you see, you are working with a full team. And then all this information you get from each and every one of them, and then you put the documentation in place. At times, some of them, they already have this documentation. Like if you go to the UI UX team, they will just say, oh, we have the prototype document. And then they'll just hand it over to you. Okay? Then the architects, they can get you the architectural diagrams. All you need to do, just collate all this, and you have your complete document. Because there are so many documents. You can imagine all the different documents that we've listed, more than 10, 15. But like I said, they are all very simple. Okay, it's just names. And for you to know when to implement what, you know when to bring in what. When we say scope statement, when do you bring in your scope statement? Your business case, what time? When is it required? Because most of these documents, once you've done them, that's all. You just need to archive them. If they need it tomorrow, you bring it out. It's not something you do every day. And then once you start running projects, most of these documents, all you need to do is just to edit. When you want to work on another document, you bring the same scope statement and say, okay, this is not required, this is not required. Just edit, as it suits the current project that you want to work on. So still still on execution. The objective is to carry out the work that is defined in the project management plan to achieve the project objectives. Okay, because now you are carrying out the main work. Implementation, coding, those are part of the work. The developers are working on the coding. When they are done, the testers will test. So all these activities, you need to document them. And then put a timeline. How long it's going to take? When will they even come to play? Who does what first? At what time? And for how long? That's part of your job. You now implement approved changes. Because as you're doing it, there will be changes that will be required. Say, okay, we don't want it this way. Oh, we actually want this to happen. So you will now go through a change approval process. And then once that is done, you will implement those changes. So you also learn to manage communication and stakeholders engagement. Stakeholders engagement is a big aspect of your task. You need to learn how to manage stakeholders. But first, identify them, assess them, and then you now manage them. What sort of communication they require? And then you conduct procurement. Most times, procurement might not be you. You might have a procurement team, but it's still part of what you need to understand. Still on the implementation and coding, but this is majorly for the, let's say, testers and developers. Okay? Because now you want to develop the software based on the design specification. They've given a design specification. Now we want to now develop it. So the developers are working on it. What time? How long will it take them to get this done? Because once the developers work on it, they push it to the testers. Testers will now test it. What has been developed? Is it fit for purpose? Does it really help us to achieve the objective? So the tester will test it as against the objective. What we said that this CRM system will be able to do. Okay, so the database implementation, integration of different modules, all these are part of execution. So I'm just giving a list of the execution phase, what will be done. Database implementation, integration of different modules, unit testing by the developer, because once they've developed it, they will need to test each unit. All those are part of work that needs to be done. Then code review. Those code that have been designed, they need to review it. And there must be a review process. Then version control management. You will have different versions, version 1, version 2, version 3, how all aligns with the objective of the business, or the system. So all these are part of your execution phase. You can see, just outlining this now will show that yes, you know what you're doing, and then you know what each phase, who to go to for each of the phases. Like coding of individual modules and components, you know that goes to the developers. Database implementation, well, you might be looking at your data analyst or the BA to help you uh, bring that out. So the integration of all the different modules, your developers will help you to do that. Then the unit testing, your QAs will have to test. And then the code review is something that the whole team will do to review it and be sure that we're in order. We're doing the right thing so that we reduce raising bugs and having defects. When you review your code properly, using the proper channel, then you reduce the tendency of having bugs, which are like, faults. Say, oh, you have some faults in it. Say, oh, we've raised some bugs. Okay. And you can see that during this execution phase, there are so many things, so many. So I just try to list them out. So on your own time, just look at them, look at what it entails in detail, like the source code, fully developed and commented code for all the modules. This is the fully developed and commented code for all modules. That's the source code. The one that is fully developed. Then the developed database, implemented database with initial data. That's if it is applicable now for your CRM system. Not all systems will have this. Then the unit test report. After they've done the coding, they'll test each unit and then they put a report on it. So this is just documenting the results of the individual component test. And then technical documentation, API documentation, code comments, system setup guides. All these need to be documented as your technical documentation. Then the integrated systems, which is a functional, albeit untested version of your complete system. Okay? A functional, untested version of it. That's the integrated system now, because everything all together, you now test everything together. But it's more like an uncompleted version, but you still want to test it to see how far it goes as compared to when it's fully online. Now, the next phase, which is the monitoring and then controlling. Remember, I did say that this monitoring and controlling works simultaneously with the execution phase. So both of them go together. So you now need to start tracking what is being done, review, okay, regulate the progress and performance of the project. You now identify any areas in which changes to the plan are required. So if there's any change requirement, then you go back to the drawing board, get all the board members that need to approve it, explain why this needs to be changed, and then once they approve it, you bring it back. You now initiate the corresponding changes. So the ongoing process can span all through the waterfall phase, which is this monitoring phase and control. It can span through all, maybe from your planning, execution, till completion. There will always be something to monitor and to control. You track the project progress against the schedule and against the budget. You need to ensure that the time that you've set for this project, you work closely with it. And then the budget for the project, you try not to exceed the budget. And you monitor and control the risk, understand the mitigation plans, and then you evaluate and then create contingency plans also in case something happens. And then you manage the changes to scope, schedule, and costs, because there will always be changes. The time will change. Some things will happen, and what could have been completed within 3 days, it will now take more than 4 days. And then, what else now? Now, remember, we said something about a schedule, that it is your duty to understand how long it will take for a specific task to be done. So this discussion you're going to have with whoever is handling that particular task as part of your team members. If you are talking of the coding team, you discuss with the developers. If it's the unit test that you want to confirm, you discuss with the testers and say, oh, testers, how long is it going to take you to do the unit test for the whole system, for this part of the system? And then based on their experience, they will let you know. So this you put into your schedule. And then once you put it in there, you monitor it to ensure that nothing's happened for you to go out of that schedule, because we are monitoring cost. You monitor your risk and then ensure that there's no change to your scope. And if there is, make sure you follow the due process to implement those changes. Then you measure and report the project performance. You look at the project performance, the team performance. You conduct quality control activities to ensure that the quality of the project or the product is in place. And then you also monitor your stakeholders. All these are part of what the project manager goes through. You can see how interesting the work of a project manager is. That is why they're just everywhere. Every company just wants a project manager, because with them, your project is safe. So you can imagine going through all these different documentation. Hardly will anything go wrong. So that is why it's a task that you have to be on your feet to ensure. So objective. We are still looking at testing and quality assurance now. Now that you've done all your coding, it is now time for us to start testing it. Let's look at the quality of what we've designed. Okay? And then you will now ask the testers as to now give you timeline for each and every one of these activities so that you can detail and document them. There will be integration testing. That's when you integrate all the different components together. Then you test them. There will be system testing. You test the complete system itself. Then there will be user acceptance testing, where you put this to the end users, the people that are supposed to use it eventually, bring it to them. Let them use it and tell you how the system functions, or what is it that they find troublesome, problematic about the system. They will tell you, oh, I'm using this your CRM, but I noticed that the feature on this part is this. Why don't you do it this way? Now, those are feedbacks that you require from your UAT. Then performance testing. You will look at the system responsiveness and stability under load. When you put it under load, how does it respond? How stable is the system? All these are what need to be tested. Then the security system, security testing. You identify vulnerabilities, not something that you will build and hackers can just come in and bam, the system is gone. So defect tracking also and resolution. From what the developers they've built, how many defects were detected by the testers, and then how were they resolved? You need to put all this into documentation so that you will know that, oh, while we're building this, we actually detected 15 bugs. And out of the 15 bugs, 14 were actually resolved. The other one, we decided not to go out along with it because we just put it out of scope. So all these are information that people will need for future reference. Still on the testing, your testers will come up with test cases and then script. Because within that test case, they will now describe what needs to be tested, how it will be tested, and why it's being tested. All this will be within their test cases. So these detailed scenarios for testing. Defect log. I've mentioned the defect log and the bug, but you will have a report for it for proper documentation so that you can identify issues and then their status. Has it been resolved? Has it not been resolved? Is it standing? Is it outstanding? So all this will be on that report. Then test summary report. Your test summary report, an overview of testing activities, results, and remaining risk. So your testers will be able to create this. So you just send the template to them, say, oh, maybe the lead tester, say, please, can I have the test summary report for our CRM project that we just did? So if they've completed it, they will let you know. And if they haven't completed it, they'll say, oh, please, we're still working on it. We still have some outstanding bugs that need to be, resolved. And then when we're done with that, we'll get back to you. But at least as a project manager, you know what you're saying. You know what your test summary report should include. And then your user acceptance tests sign off. Because once the users, the end users say, oh, this is good, that's when it can be signed off for formal approval from stakeholders. And then your performance test result. The metrics. Okay, so how your system performs under load. Remember that, which was from the previous test, from the previous slide. So this time around, you now have your result. And even for the security too, there will be security audit report also on your project. Let's move on. Now for the project closure, you can see how we've gone through initiation, planning, execution, monitoring control, and now we are at the last phase, which is your project closure. And bulk of it will have to do with lessons learned. What have we learned? What were the mistakes? What were the learning curve? So the objective here is to formally complete all activities across all project management process groups to formally close the project or the phase. So this will now include your documenting successes, failures for future reference. So you're going to obtain final acceptance of the project deliverables. You will perform administrative closure, release project resources, because once you're done with them, there are some resources that you need to release them. Say, oh, if you finish developing, you don't need all the developers anymore. So they need to be released to handle other projects and no longer assigned to yours. You conduct a post-implementation review. You document lessons learned. Like I mentioned before, you archive project documents, sample documents for lessons learned report. And then you now look at what are the successes, what went well, what were the challenges that you faced, what could be improved on. So all these are part of what will be on your lessons learned. There will be recommendation also. Okay, just like I put here on the purpose. What is the purpose of this lessons learned report? It's a document that captures the knowledge gained during a project, including successes, failures, and recommendations for future projects. So I think that's it for the project closure. On your lessons learned report, if you are looking at it from the aspect of our CRM project, what went well? Strong stakeholders engagement during requirement gathering, effective use of dedicated UAT environment. Your UAT, that's your user acceptance test. Then what could be improved on? Better integration planning with existing systems upfront, that could have been improved on, and more frequent communication on minor scope clarifications, that could have been improved on. And then what's our recommendations? You need to implement a dedicated integration specialist role for future projects. Establish a formal mini sprint for minor scope adjustment during design. You see, so these are recommendations that people brought up after they've completed the project. Say, while we're doing it, I think it would be good for us to have a dedicated integration specialist, okay, for future project, because they had issues with the integration part while they were designing this CRM. So that's why this was mentioned. So it could be anything. It's just for you to have an idea of what your lessons learned report should entail, because that is the major report for project closure. Okay, this is a sample of your lessons learned report, but it could come in different form. Because I remember the last one I did wasn't like this. There was one I did for a project I handled for a company. That's just it. Okay, so you can see we have lessons learned, during execution, team collaboration, team was well organized, communication among team members was smooth, communication between team members and project manager, and then stakeholders were available for necessary input, tasks were well optimized, all project phases were completed on time. So all these were things that you will, so when you put all this here, you will not say, well, is it yes or no? Like, project resources were effectively used, yes or no? And what is your suggestion for improvement? You put it on this last line. So you can see how detailed it is. Very simple. There's a project manager was at team's disposal, yes or no? What is your suggestion and what is the improvement? So very simple. That is a sample of your lessons learned report. So deployment and maintenance. Remember, when you're through with designing whatever you want to develop, you need to now deploy it, send it to production, people that wants to use it. It's like saying the project is online, okay? So that is production. So we've sent it, we release it to production. So the objective is to release the system to the production environment, and then you ensure its ongoing operation and support. Okay? So now the duration of this is that it's ongoing. It doesn't have an end point because it will continually be used. That's deployment. You've deployed it to production. So some of you will get to come and say, oh, they're actually releasing that product to production. Some companies will call it prod. They'll say prod environment. Prod is production environment, because that is where the end users start using it. If you're developing maybe a mobile app and you want to push it to prod, that means you're taking it where the end users will have access to it. So it's already in production. So we're no longer talking of planning or execution phase. Now we've completed it, and then you've submitted to the people that want to use it. Now, under your maintenance, because once you put it in deployment, there will be something that you need to maintain. There will be some last-minute bugs that will come up that need to be fixed. There will be some requirements on some API that will need to be amended. So as this problem keeps coming, you'll be maintaining them. That's the maintenance part of your product development, because it's in deployment now and you need to keep doing. So you will have a team that will be handling that. Most companies, they have the production team. So they are the ones that will be dealing with all this, because you've handed the project or the product to them. So there'll be training for them to understand what needs to be done. User training, system cutover, go live support. When you say go live, that means you're sending it to production. And then there will be support. When it goes live, there will be support. The developers will be on ground. In case anything happens, they can quickly jump on it. So during that first week of go live, everybody must be involved to lend their support. So that's the beautiful part of the project closure. It's a very interesting aspect. Okay. Still part of still on deployment and maintenance. The corrective maintenance, that means you are fixing bugs, issues that are found after deployment. Adaptive maintenance, you will be updating the system to work with new environments or technologies. Maybe you're trying to upgrade your system, okay? Assuming your system could only manage 5,000 users. And then you notice that so many customers are coming on board. Very soon, you're going to exceed 5,000. So you need to start putting it in place, APIs and all things that will enable you to manage 10,000, 20,000. So you'll be talking about upgrade. Then perfective maintenance, enhancing functionality and performance based on user feedback, and preventive maintenance also. Proactive measures to prevent future issues. System monitoring and performance tuning. Now, these are terminologies that you need to understand within project closure. Once your project goes live and you've sent it to prod environment. Remember I said prod environment means production environment. That is your go live. Deployment and maintenance, still on deployment and maintenance, deliverables. What are the key deliverables? Deployed system, okay? That means the live operational software is already live, it's working already, people are using it. Then the user manual and training materials for the end users. You need to create a user manual and the training materials and make it available for them so they can read through and say, oh, in order for you to engage with this system, these are the manual, these are the steps that you need to take. You need to click on this, and when you click on this, you move to this part, you do this, you do that. So all this you need to prepare. You prepare them, and then you hand it over to the prod team. Post-implementation, you review report, lessons learned from the project, maintenance plan, outlining support procedures. Okay? What sort of procedure is required for the support? Because there must be a support team to help out in case something happens. And then what sort of SLAs do you have in place? SLAs means a service levels agreement that you have in place. And your SLAs will go with timing. When you call on people, maybe you contracted out some part of the project, you should be able to reach out to them, and then they must give you a timeline. When we call on you, within the first 3 hours, we should be able to resolve the issue. All those need to be documented in your SLAs so that you don't have issues. Because you've paid them, they should be able to attend to issues. And then system monitoring tools and dashboard. All these are terminology within your deployment phase and the closure. So you can see that project closure entails so many things. Okay? Because initially, I personally, when I got into the company, I wasn't really aware of so many of those documentation within the closure phase. But through experience, I got to know that there are so many things involved in project closure. So what are the advantages if you're using waterfall for a project? The advantage is that there's clarity and structure because all the documentation are clear. Each phase has defined goals and deliverables. Then predictable timelines and cost is easier to manage your budget and schedule once requirements are fixed because you've already fixed those requirements. So to manage your budget and time, it's easy that way. Then extensive documentation. It aids understanding because there's so much documentation there. So nobody will form ignorance. Nothing of such. They are all written down. Quality control. Thorough testing phases ensure a robust final product. And then good for stable requirements. It is ideal when requirements are unlikely to change significantly. So waterfall is ideal when you know that your requirements are not likely to change significantly. Okay, if it's not going to be changing, waterfall is good. But if it's going to be changing every now and then, then you're going to be in a whole lot of trouble if you're using waterfall for that. So what are the challenges and mitigations in waterfall? The challenges, one, inflexibility. That means it's difficult to incorporate changes once a phase is completed. Once you've completed a phase, you can't go back and now put changes there because you need to complete one phase before you move to the other. That's waterfall. You complete A, you now move to B. You complete B, you move to C. Complete C, you move to D. So not when you get to D, you discover that there's something wrong with B. So going back to B is difficult when it comes to waterfall. Then late bug detection. When you detect bugs very late, it's very expensive to rework on. Because that means you now need to go back and start dealing with what you've dealt with before, and you've already passed that level. So it's very expensive in waterfall to do that. Limited user involvement. Users typically involved heavily only in requirements and UAT. That's when you bring the users only in requirements and UAT. That's where you bring them in for waterfall. But on agile is different. Then risk of misinterpretation. If requirements are not perfectly captured, the final product may not meet the needs of why it was actually designed. That means you must be detailed with your requirements. No room for mistake. Then rigorous requirement gathering. You need to invest heavily upfront to minimize changes. Ensure that this requirement that you are gathering and that you are analyzing, make sure that there will be no room for changes later. And then detailed design reviews. Catch design flaws early. You need to catch them early so that it doesn't go deep into the project, which will cause so much pain and cost. Early and continuous testing. Though sequential unit and integration tests are done during implementation, okay? That means once you start the testing, you do a sequential testing, you do unit testing, and then integration testing also. You quickly do them so that you know if there's any issue, not when we've passed that stage. We will call them back again. It's going to be terrible. And then clear communication. Maintain open channels with stakeholders throughout the process. It is very vital. So in conclusion, the waterfall methodology provides a robust and structured approach for our CRM project. So by meticulously completing each phase, we ensure a high quality, well-documented, and predictable delivery. Our focus on thorough requirements, detailed design, and comprehensive testing will lead to a successful system that meets our business objectives. So integrating the 5 major project phases ensures a holistic project management approach from start to finish. So what I did was to bring in those 5 phases into this CRM project for you to see how each of them works, what sort of documentation is required for every phase, and then see how we can start the project from beginning to the end. So all these that we've done could take several months to complete in real life project, but at least you have an idea of what it entails. So that is it for the Waterfall CRM project. Thank you very much. Question, please. Question from anyone? Ajali, Osarime, Nana?
My question is, for a CRM project like this, you said, because every document you've taken us through now is for waterfall methodology, but can it be used when it has to do with a data migration in case you want to upgrade
Yes,
the CRM system?
of course you can use them. Yeah, you can. Most of the documentation, you will still use some of them in Agile too. Yes.
Okay.
You won't go into detail. It won't be much. There won't be much detail when it comes to the Agile side of things, but you will still need documentation.
Because what I'm thinking is, won't they have to shut down the system for them to be able to carry out the work? I don't understand how waterfall is applied to CRM that's already in use.
Yeah, CRM that is already in use. I think the developers will just need to go to the back end to fix what needs to be fixed while the system is live.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So they have a way. Maybe they might just decide to work at night in case they need to shut down some stuff. So during the night, they just fix whatever needs to be fixed, maybe add some plugins, do whatever they need to do. And then in the morning you come, it's good to go.
Okay, we used to get some of those kind of messages from our banks
Yes.
that they'll be shut down from midnight for
Yeah.
12 for 4 hours and things like that.
I
Okay.
want to carry out some major fix.
Okay. All right.
You're welcome. Any other question? So you can see how interesting project management is. It's beautiful. When you really get into it, you see all these documentation, you start using them, you just be loving it.
Hi, this
Hello.
is Arime. Hello. So my question is, you mentioned the list of or testing in the testing and quality assurance slides.
Yes.
As a project managers, I know that you do have like the list of the testing. If you want to include those testings to reports, how do you go about it? Is it like, let's say, oh, you've got like the pack prepared and you need to make it, present it in the board meeting, or you want to add it to probably your fortnightly or reports as well. So how do you go about adding, like testing report, like the list of, that you have here? How do you go about adding them to your list, please?
Well, there's a test summary report from the testers that you will have, but for your own report to the stakeholders, you don't need to detail all the different tests that they've done to the stakeholders. All you need to do is to summarize what has been done. You can say tests carried out 4, bugs detected 3, bugs resolved
Okay,
3. That's all.
right. So that's high level. Yeah.
That's high level because the stakeholders don't need to know what sort of test, how long was it done, and what are the details. No, they don't need all that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, all they want to do is, oh, they tested 3 different components, detected 4 bugs, and fixed 3. 1 is currently ongoing. That's all.
Okay. And if there is any issue, or any blockers, then you can then elaborate more on it,
Yes,
because
you can.
that's definitely going to stop, the project
Any
from
issue that will be on your, yes, you would, that's your part of your progress report. You will state what the issue is and then what is being done with the issue at the moment. No, issue, you will state what the issue is and then what's being done. How is it being managed? Has it been closed out? Yes. If it has not been closed out, then what's happening currently? This is the state. So that's what they want to know. So the next time you will come again, you would say, oh, that has been closed out. Now, this is the other one we have here now. So it's high level report that you need to take to stakeholders.
All right, cool. Great. Thank you. And
Yeah.
also in terms of the lessons learned, I know you mentioned that a couple of times as well. So with the lessons learned, that can also be added to the reports as well, closure reports.
Yes, yes. There will be, at the end of the project, there will be a project closure report that you add all those to it. Yes.
Okay, cool. And that is not going to be like a selected lessons
Right.
learned. It's just going to be every single thing, or you need to pick the critical ones, like the ones probably advantages, or the ones that have got advantage, the added advantages, probably like 5, and the ones that didn't go well, probably like five as well. Or are you going to add literally
Well,
everything
well,
so they know everything that happened?
yes, that's a full document. It's a full document, so they will have that. It's a full document. The project closure, it will be a full document. So you add all the lessons learned, add it to it.
Okay.
The board report, everything will be there. So let them see it.
Okay, cool. Because couple of the reports that I've supported the PMs to create in the past, they would normally just add the link to, let's say, SharePoint link
The SharePoint link.
to where the document is stored,
Yes.
and they give access to people that they want to, have access to that particular document. Then they can easily just click on it. If you don't have access to that document, even if you click on it, you won't be able to see it.
Of course, that's it, yeah. But all those information will be there. So they will just send it to the stakeholders that they want to send it to. Then you can just have your way, enjoy yourself, go through it. Yeah. So that's it.
Okay, great.
It's very important and quite interesting.
Yeah, I actually joined like halfway through though. Yeah, thanks to Emilia for letting me know. I didn't actually know because I didn't attend stand-ups. Yeah, but I really enjoyed this section. It was really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was good.
So,
thank you.
You're welcome. So we'll be looking forward to the agile part of it next week. We'll see how it goes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, so
I can't wait for that one.
This
so
is
Everybody's doing agile.
right. So this is the waterfall part, yeah?
yes.
Why the agile one is coming next week, yeah?
Yes.
All right.
Of your sprint time.
Why do you have two? Why do you have the I know that the methodology is kind of different because the waterfall one, you start to finish. If anything goes wrong, then you can go back to start all over again. Why with this agile, you're rectifying any issues that is going on? That's the reason this is in sprint.
Yeah,
So you can always go back to it. Then so my next question is, can a company actually use the two if they decided that, okay, I want to use both waterfall and agile together? Would they be able to do it?
Yes, but not using it together, but for different projects. Maybe for a particular project, they can say, oh, we think this project we can use waterfall for this. So they want you to use waterfall. And then for this, we need agile for this. And then there will be at times where they want to mix both together. Okay.
Exactly, yeah. Because
there are times where you want to have a project where they call it WAGILE, waterfall and agile.
Okay. Which one is hybrid?
That's the hybrid, WAGILE. Okay. It's like a combination of both. That's why it's good for you to have an understanding of both.
Yeah, because there's one project.
If required. You can have some project where you're doing it sequentially in phases, and at the same time, each phase you want to bring in agile because you will now be having daily stand-ups. You'll now be having maybe like a short sprint. It may not be the normal 2-week sprint. You can at times they might just decide to have 1-week sprint, or they might just have not Scrum. They might want to use Kanban.
Is that Kanban? I don't understand. I don't understand it at all.
No, it's very simple. It's still like Scrum, but this time around you're not working iteratively. It's even close to what you have in your waterfall in the sense that you move product from one point to the other. You use a board. There's what they call a Kanban board. And then from the Kanban board, you will see the first column. The first column will just be the BA, what they are designing, what they've prioritized. And then the second column will be from BA, we are now moving what the BAs they've done, all the wireframe and all the user stories, we are moving it to the developers. And then you can now see, when you look at a particular story, you can tell who the story is with. Is it with the developers? Is it with the testers? Because when the developer is true, the developer will now move. Once the developer is true, he say completed. Then the testers will just come and pick up that story, move it to their own column. So once you come on a Kanban board, you can tell that story A is with the testers. And if it's taking too long, then you can just call the tester or send him a mail. Mr. John, this story has been with you for 2 days. What's happening? And then he will explain. So that's Kanban. Kanban, it's just a visual board, so that tells how the story goes from one point to the other, one point to the other. So
talking about that, yeah. So talking about that, so there was one project I actually worked on in the bank, and it was a massive project, which was actually migrating application to the cloud and also decommissioning different applications from the different systems as well. So because of how large and complicated that project was, some part was waterfall, while some part was agile. So I was confused why they actually did it that way. Now I'm getting the picture.
Yeah.
Why? Yeah. So I'm just getting the picture now. Why?
Oh my gosh, sequential. So you need to like the migration now, you move from this legacy system to this, the decommissioning. So you need to understand which one comes first before you decommission. There are some initiation parts that need to be done before you now start going into decommissioning. And the data that you're even moving, you need to know how to segregate those data, archive those data. All those are phases that you need to understand first, and then you carry them out one after the other. So that you can do with waterfall.
Yeah, even with this teaching now, I can even, like elaborate more on that project with this teaching. Yeah, thank you.
So once you have an understanding of both, it makes you a master. And companies are looking for project managers with waterfall experience and agile experience, so that you can boldly tell them that, oh, I've handled a CRM project using waterfall, and I've also handled a software development project using agile, and I've also done maybe a mobile app or system integration using agile. Yes, now you're talking from experience. So that's it. That's why you guys are here to, so that we rub mind together and then you get to understand it.
Exactly. More in detail. Yeah.
So I think that's it. We've actually done quite a lot today. Let's look forward to next week, and then we'll have another wonderful time. So
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wells. Thank you for your patience.
No worries. So we'll definitely see you again next week. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening.
Thank you.
You too. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Okay.